Alright everyone, welcome to the new season, Season 4 of the Dark Helmet Racing League GTD Sunday Night League. So slight revision to the layout here, but overall it looks pretty much the same. A few more points, or a few more penalties that can be issued this season than previous, but for the most part it's going to be very similar in the overall results. Tonight we were at Hockenhiem, and there was some intense battles and lots of little contacts here and there, but lots of pretty awesome racing. Everyone was giving each other just enough room for the most part, so let's get into it, see what we got. Alright, so this is just a lot of lap 1 of the sprint, a little bit of fun here. There's a little bit of a net code just as we get through here. So this contact, it's 3 wide. Driver on the inside didn't really know that it was 3 wide so much and was trying his best to stay out of the way. That's why they're so far on the curb. And then as we go through here, there's then a net code contact between the two Porsches here. Right there. And just straightens up Kevin here and forces him wide off the track, which he then kind of loses control, slides back across the track, and has contact with what I believe is Todd. So this one's just going to be a racing incident. Nothing that we could have changed here. So we're just going to notice this as racing incident, wherever my mouse is. It's right here somewhere. There we go. Racing incident, as well as with Todd. Alright, so Morgan got a kind of a run through the hairpin here. What I believe is Sean. Got up alongside. And then Sean goes to apex. Morgan tries to avoid. But right there, Sean's wheels are on the white line. Morgan is being forced off the track. Morgan could have lifted out of the situation, but he had enough car ups alongside to grant him space. And then he comes off the curb and gets contact with Sean. And they both go spinning, so. And Morgan definitely got the worst of that. So from Morgan, it's just going to be noted here. And did it not give him? Nope, there was no other incident. So let's go into notice because this is actually going to be the penalty towards Sean. So let's get this one set up here. So driver number, and Sean was Sean Williams, car number 6. And we're going to do failing to leave space, which is a minor 1-point penalty. Okay. So let's get to the next one here. So the car on the front here misses the apex, and the 831 of, who's 831? Brandon Powell runs through and carries the right amount of apex speed. So if we watch compared to the 88 here, the gap's going to open to the 88. The gap for the Porsche, he's falling back. Unfortunately, the A31 carried the same amount of speed through, but it is up to the car behind to, not run into the back of the car ahead. So this is avoidable contact, results in a spin. So it is pretty minor contact, but it did result in loss of control for that driver and loss of positions. So with our new points structure, this is a 2.5, like it just was last season as well. So I'm just going to leave this one as noted. And then we're going to go to Brandon Powell for the other incident. Pause that, go into notice. And driver number 831. Avoidable contact 2.5. On to the next one. Okay, this is 73, which is Josh. And then number 20, who is Christian. So here, Josh goes around the outside of Christian, so he should have known that he was on the outside of somebody, and then he moves across. And see that last little movement there, the quick movement. So this contact is solely on Josh. There was nothing that Christian should have or could have done there. He would have fully expected that car to stay on the inside. In this situation, the 73 has got the worst end of the outcome and has got quite a lot of damage here. And because of that, I'm going to leave it as what was my? We're gonna go with avoidable contact minor on this. All the contact and the loss of positions and everything is of his own doing. So we're gonna note this as an incident with the fault lying on the 73. So that's the kind of the difference between last season and this season is the driver at fault is going to get a penalty. Yes, they're going to be slightly variable due to the overall extent of the incident here. So the other incident was 2.5, similar thing. The driver spun, but in this case, the driver spun themselves. So that they were the instigator of the contact. So here we're going to go pull up the notice. Driver number 73. This is going to be, let's do moving under the braking, actually, because they did just as they got to the brake, so let's go make sure. So the braking mark is usually where that asphalt seam is. Let's just see if we can see brake lights. Yeah, so brake lights come on and as he moves. So let's call this moving under the brakes, which is a 1 point. So not avoidable contact, but failing to hold brakes. Or sorry, moving under braking, sorry. Okay. So Christian here was the other portion of this, so noted. On to the next one. Pretty close there between Ryan and Kevin, but this is all on Ryan by looks. He loses control there. He's already gone at this point. And Kevin comes through, even if there's a net code there, which there is, because Kevin got a 1x by 2x there. So this is just a racing incident, so no action on this. Same with Kevin's. Let's just make sure safe rejoin on this one, because it is a pretty dangerous spot. And no action. Actually, let's just go double check with Ryan's. Oh, yeah, actually. Yep. So let's go to different camera that might show this better. Chopper. Okay. So Ryan loses it here, and then comes right across the track, and that's that would be Vincent that had to go off the track to avoid. So since I've already missed the opportunity here, I'll put it in my log, so it'll still get reported. So driver 616, which is Ryan Fry, and we'll go improper rejoin was very close to dangerous rejoin. Contact would have made it dangerous. Let's just go improper. So that's a 2.5. Okay. Next, 2x. So that's a. He ends up waiting here. The leaders came through. So that was a great job. Very heads up. And very much appreciated. Alright, so this is just some good hard racing. Misjudged a little bit. Let's go through it slower. So you got Vincent ahead of Powell here. And as they come up to the braking zone, Powell tries to switch sides here, just as Vincent gets on the brakes. So there's contact there. Doesn't push Vincent too wide. It does upset him into the braking zone, but Vincent does gather it up. And Powell has the nose in there, but didn't gain any advantage from the contact. So we'll call this one a racing incident with both of those. Okay. Okay, so this is a lot longer of a sequence. The portion involved in this is me. So I'll probably end up doing a review with Brandon or Morgan on this. But let's watch the whole entire sequence because this was some awesome hard racing between the three of us here. So it starts with Gab getting a run on me into the hairpin. And in this case, I'm the car in front. But let's keep a look at the line here. So I try to keep as straight as possible here. I want to push Gab down onto the bottom side here and force him to have a hard braking zone. Just as we get to the braking zone, I do start kind of giving him more space because it's just safer. I'm not impeding anybody by moving left a little bit here. And to be honest, if I squeeze him all the way down the inside, probably going to end up with losing more than just one spot. We'll probably end up getting in a spin or worse. So here you have me giving Gab some space on the inside. So let's roll that. And Gab does a great job of keeping that down on the curb there. I give him some space, and then Matthew here capitalizes on it and does an over-under. He gets a fairly good run, but had to kind of back out of it a bit as we go into the next corner here. So, still too wide ahead of him. And we go through here. So, like what happened earlier between Morgan and Sean, this is what leaving space should have looked like. So this is just enough space. I could have given him any less, it probably would have resulted in contact for the both of us. And as Gab came off the curb there, he just came a little wide, which is why I was giving a little bit extra space. And then Matthew throws it up the inside here, and probably ABS is out. This is a corner that I know the Porsche was struggling with ABS, and I was behind Matthew at one point, and the ABS out pretty hard into here. So he's trying to get to apex, but then rolls it out. So one of the penalties for this year, for this season, is failing to leave room, or failing to leave space. I could do it here, but there's a bit of tit for tat here, and It kind of goes back the other way as we go through the next corner. I throw it in. We'll have the other stewards review this just to make sure, but we get glued together right here. And this is what caused me to get stuck with him. I was going to leave him space, but the iRacing glue took full effect and kind of speared me off into him. Steering wheel was pulling hard to the left there. I was doing everything I could to try to not destroy his race. And then this continues. So now Gab here on the inside gets one hell of a run and takes one heck of a optimistic move down the inside here. I was not expecting this. So I was trying to squeeze him as soon as I saw what he was doing, and then I had to give him the room. But Matthew ended up having a spin here behind us. He just got loose on the entry and then bounced off the curb. But look at ahead, you can see again we're giving each other just enough space. I gave him space at apex, and Gab was giving us space on exit here. I gave him as much space as I could, even dropping a wheel into the gravel here, just trying to hold it. Phil, awesome job avoiding that. This is pretty hard racing. So I'm going to leave this one open. I'm going to pull the other stewards in after to review this one, just to make sure, since I was involved. And then just want to make sure that there's nothing else into this incident. So Matthew waits, does a nice spin turn, and gets going again. So that one I'm going to put as noted for now, and we'll come back to that one. Actually, change that one to investigating. All right, so on to the next incident here. We have an Auto Steward warning. This will probably be for blue flags. So if I turn on blue flags here, which is this one, Auto Steward warning. So yeah, so Kevin Davis had a fairly lengthy blue flag here. So blue flags are set at 30 seconds for a warning for that driver, and then 45 seconds they get a 0x. But that's just a trigger for us to go look at further. In this case, I think it was even possibly with me. We can double click on it to go find out. Once I find my mouse, there it is. So if we go on to this one, and let's go to rear chase so we can see everything that's happening. So it wasn't with me. That was, I think, in the feature, actually. But in this case, he's got a car behind him. The car's not gaining quickly on him. He's not really impeding. And this is why it's just a 0x for us to go investigate further. You get the warning just as a, hey, please help the guy behind. So that's Jeff behind. And he does end up letting him go through. So that's awesome. On to the next 4x. Ooh, big stack up. Alright, let's see everything that happened here. Okay, so we have Powell going on Vincent. Battle continues. Like I said, there were some really hard battles going on in this race. So Vincent on the inside, and we have Powell trying to do the over-under, and Christian running into that gap. And this is one of the things you got to be aware of going into an over-under situation, is that somebody could be rolling into that gap, but also the apex speeds for both of these guys is crawling. So it's really hard to avoid the stack up and not roll into that gap. So in this case, it really is a racing incident. There was not much that Christian could do here. You see he even gets rear-ended by the car behind as he's basically coming to a stop. He's doing everything he can to avoid that incident. gets a little tap from behind. Then Morgan gets into that car as well. Powell gets spun, and Christian ends up sitting behind him. Just for added luck, Christian gets another tap. And let's go rear chase just to see what else happens here. And he waited for him. And this is a great thing to do. We do have, if you redress the situation, we're not going to give you a penalty. So what this does is we're going to go notice, and this one, driver number 20 for Christian, and we just noted this as a place given back. No further action. That's awesome to see. Great sportsmanship there. Just log it just so we have it. And for Powell, that will just be noted. Let's go to Vincent. I think he was the same. There was contact with Vincent and all that. Just a netcode contact. So no action on Vincent. You have 2 more warnings. It's one loud Mustang. These will be for incident point tallies, these warnings, for probably 4Xs, since there was just 2 more 4Xs generated for the 31 and the 21. So those will be for those, and now we got 2 more. Part of the same stack up, so there was that extra love tap, so no action. And same for Potts here. No action, just a stack up. Okay. And then the race ends. And great running up to the line. So that's all the sprint. We had 3 or 4 drivers with penalties there, and only one that was a 5th one that was for no further action. Alright, now we got some 4Xs on the first lap of the feature. Alright, so we have a lot going on ahead, so let's slow this down. There's a bit of a stack up right ahead with Philip and Greg. And then you have Vincent on the inside of Matthew with no real right to be there. There was no stack up for unexpected stack up for Matthew, so Vincent just kind of rolled into a gap that was always going to close. Vortex of danger, as it's known. And spins Matthew, which then results in more people having 4X incidents behind. So there's another one there. This is just going to be collateral damage, unfortunately. Okay. So noted. Troy Banks is the one that was spinning off the outside. Noted. Matthew. So in all of this, somehow Vincent didn't generate any incident points. So under Matthew here as well, we'll notice this one. So let's go make sure we're on Matthew. Roll it back, and this one's going to be a 2.5 avoidable contact for Vincent. Driver number 21, avoidable contact. Okay. Jeff Wyatt here. Oh, drops it off the curb, unfortunate. So no contact, no phantom netcode. Just unfortunately losing it off the curb, so let's just make sure our rejoin is safe. And it is. So no further action. Me. What do I have here? Alright, so this is exactly as the other situation in the sprint where a driver was trying to over-under and this is the danger of doing the over-under in the hairpin. They overslowed each other and I late apexed it, trying to take advantage of the situation, and I surprised Brandon. And Brandon was also getting kind of parked by a very good move by runner here to just kind of wait for the exit and kind of park Brandon. So it kind of made Brandon have to lift a bit more than he was expecting. So this doesn't need any further investigating. This is just a racing incident between Brandon and I. Hard contact, straight to the wheel, but in the end there was no real damage on there. And we fought on. Brandon rolled it back on me, and we continued the battle, and then Kevin got involved. So, no action between Brandon and I here. Actually, we should do racing incident, sorry. And on to the next incident. Now, does Troy give the spot back? No. So to avoid a penalty here, all Troy had to do was concede the spot. But unfortunately, he did not, and he took off. No, sorry, is this Troy? 888. Yep, Troy. So in this case, you have Kevin ahead. Kevin comes off the outside curb here, perfectly within his right, goes to turn in, and Troy just kind of tries to throw it into a gap that was always going to close and results in contact. At turn-in, he did not have the right to the position. You can't just keep on sneaking up the inside and expect the car to be aware that you're doing that. Most drivers will not open their wheel, and you'll always have that contact. So this is going to be on the 888. So noted for Kevin here. And let's go to notice. Driver 888. Avoidable contact 2.5. Okay. Morgan had apparently a bit of an adventure in this race, so Lambo doing Lambo things. Just a big lurid slide. And he stays out of the way on the rejoin as best as he could. So no action. No action on that one. This one was scary in the car, I can tell you that. So, going down the straight, Gab got a run on Brandon here. Brandon did like I was doing in the previous incident to protect the inside and try to force that driver into a poor situation. They have a 4X contact right here, which right at the braking zone, and they actually missed their braking zone ever so slightly, and then promptly get into ABS. So Brandon here probably releases the brake at some point when he realizes that contact is about to happen. He does his best to try to avoid me. He just could never get it stopped. I was heads up on this, and this is a great teaching tool for the other drivers here. Always be aware of situations like this, especially coming into the brake zone. If you're ahead of this situation, these two are going to try to outbrake each other. They're probably going to outbrake themselves, which is what happened to Brandon here. And as I went to go arc into the corner, I was well aware of what was happening in my mirror, and I delayed my turn in. So I thought Brandon would release the brake, so I kind of started arcing in, but you can see there, I'm not going to make apex. I'm just letting the car run. It got a lot closer than I wanted it to be. It was definitely a lot closer than Brandon wanted it to be, but just letting it run through there, I avoided a really bad situation for myself just by being heads up. I could have turned in and probably got T-boned, and it would have been both Brandon and I's race pretty much over at that point, if not more people, because you see there's a pile of cars behind us here. So all these cars could have been part of the incident. So this is good hard racing between the two. If we go back and look at any movement here under braking or anything, Brandon leaves a car width to the edge of the track. And then Brandon actually gives him more space. And then they have a little bit of contact. I'm not too worried about it, to be completely honest. It's such little movements back and forwards that it's on both. And this is just our racing. It's in hard racing. Both of them trying to not give an inch. And luckily, no major ramifications. So, no action. Racing incident. We'll put that also for cab. We have a couple warnings here. 14, so the 4X, this was Brandon's second. The first one was with me for the 1X, or for the 4X, it was a 0 to 4. And now that was the second, so now we're at a warning. The number 13. Who's number 13? Eric got one at the same time for another incident that was going on. A couple laps later, actually. 2 laps later. And got a drive through for the 13 2 laps after that. So these were all probably 1X because we're not reviewing those. And he got his black flag here. Now Morgan has a 2 to 3x, which is a spin all by himself. So let's just make sure he rejoins safely. She does. Car is nicely loud. Alright, a bunch of blue flags. 93 then got an Auto Steward warning. That'll be for 1x. 25, Brandon Potts got a warning right here for blue flag just as the blue flag was ending for him. So this situation, I'm really sure I know which one this one is, because this is me behind him. And he did a great job of getting out of the way, to be honest. Yeah, this is why it's 0x's for us to review later. So he ended up pulling greatly out of the way there, and I'm not worried about it at all. So that was greatly done. Thank you. Alright, so here we have Troy throwing it down the inside of Eric. Was there any previous battling here? Yeah, there was. Okay. So Eric ran wide over the curb there. Troy went down the inside at this corner. Eric pulled away into the next. And then Troy missed his braking zone. This line here is basically as late as you can go, and Troy definitely baked after that. And did his best to try to go down the inside, hoping to avoid contact, but just couldn't. And drove into the side of Eric here, forcing Eric wide. So this, because it is on the car behind, and the car behind, it was the one at fault in this. We're going to go noted for Troy, or for Eric, and Troy is going to get driver 888 avoidable contact minor. So since they spun themselves and took themselves out, we're going to do that. You know what? I'm just going to copy this for a second. And then I'm going to cancel it because I want to just make sure that Troy rejoins safely here. And he just went straight to the pits. So notice, give that a little paste back in. Okay. More Auto Steward warnings. Eric. Just a unfortunate spin there. No action. Black flag for Kevin. This will be for drive-through for 1x. Me having a not wanting to lift moment, smashing off the wall and destroying my car. No action. And that's the end of that. So overall, minor point gather for most people tonight. Some learning, and overall, fairly good night of racing. So thanks for everyone for coming out, and see you in a week.